KREM 2 News begins now.
Hello, thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Tim Pham. In the next half hour, we'll get you caught up on some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
Multiple businesses were flooded Wednesday night, like O'Doherty's behind me, as residents were evacuating a nearby apartment building.
It was smoky in the hallway and tried to get out as quick as we could.
More than 60 residents of the Coeur d'Alene Plaza apartments were evacuated following what Spokane Fire says was a fire in a kitchen on the 6th floor. While the fire was contained to the kitchen, the sprinkler system caused flooding, forcing residents to evacuate.
We're worried about whether our apartments are flooded or not. We don't know.
Resident Tom Duncan was one of the dozens forced to leave his home Wednesday night. The emergency carried to neighboring businesses. Toy store Boo Radley's evacuated due to flooding, as well as O'Doherty's right next door, with the owner John saying they'll be closed tomorrow.
This is about the 5th or 6th flood that we've had because the building's old. This is way more water and disruption than we've ever experienced.
But he's hopeful.
It's going to happen. You want it to happen in year 33, not year 3.
SFD says they're working with the American Red Cross to help those impacted by the flooding. Duncan isn't optimistic.
There's nothing I can do about it. I don't have renter's insurance. I don't think it's covered under their insurance policy. I don't know what's going to happen. Have to wait and see. It's a wait and see game now.
To the American Red Cross, who say there is an evacuation shelter set in place for those who have been affected. That's located at the All Saints Lutheran Church at 314 South Spruce Street. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
I'm here on Howard Street after a kitchen fire at the Coeur d'Alene Plaza apartments right here behind me caused over 60 residents to be displaced, as well as 3 businesses, Petunia and Loomis, Boo Radley's, and O'Doherty's Irish Grill, to close for the foreseeable future due to flooding from the sprinkler system because of that fire.
Spokane Fire Department Fire Chief Tom Williams says the fire broke out on the 6th floor of the apartment building, but was contained to 1 unit. However, it still caused more than 60 residents to be displaced. After visiting the Red Cross shelter, displaced residents say they didn't think the situation was serious because the fire alarm goes off fairly regularly. Brianna Chesser, who has lived there for 8 years, even says she ignored the alarm initially and put on her headphones.
Then the fire department came in, kind of yelled at me for doing that.
She says it wasn't until she walked outside of her apartment that she realized how severe the situation was.
The fact that there was smoke billowing through the hallways and stairwell, and that there's a huge puddle at the bottom of the stairwell.
Assistant Fire Chief Williams says no one was hurt in the fire. However, the same thing cannot be said about the businesses that were on the ground floor of the complex.
I found massive amounts of water pouring from the ceiling.
A number of businesses below the apartments, including Boo Radley's and O'Doherty's Irish Grill, were forced to stay closed as they worked to salvage their businesses.
The worst possible time for this to happen. The holidays are our busiest time, and a lot of what we rely on for getting us through the slow beginning of the year. And so it was a lot of panic.
Jesse McCauley, the manager for Petunia and Loomis, says the timing of the damage is a major cause for concern. McCauley says the flood adds another layer of stress since it comes less than 2 weeks after the business moved to this new location.
We're kind of riding this high of being in a new space, and for this to happen was very difficult.
Red Cross says their last official count of people using the shelter at All Saints Lutheran Church was around 36, all of whom lived at the Coeur d'Alene Plaza apartments. Red Cross officials say as of right now, those that need help are able to stay at the church, but they are looking for a bigger facility to be able to better help those who can't go home just yet.
We're all praying for each other and staying together, and hope we can all be back in the building as soon as possible.
Assistant Fire Chief Williams with the Spokane Fire Department tells me that investigators are still looking into what caused the fire here at the Coeur d'Alene Plaza apartments. However, it's up to the building's management team as to when residents will be able to come back in. In Spokane, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
This isn't the way any pilot wants to finish a flight. But Monday's crash landing for Robert De Laurentiis,
Because I was about 100 feet off the ground, when the engine stopped producing horsepower,
is the end of an emotional journey.
I thought, well, I'm going to go down now. The essence of adventure and exploration is certainly found in both the destination and the journey.
Robert's adventure began 5 years ago when he circumnavigated the globe from north to south pole.
The South Pole. Certainly the science is maybe the most powerful part of that trip. We detected that there's plastic particles in the air over the North and South Poles. In fact, more than what are over the equator.
He was flying the same craft named Citizen of the World into Feldfield Monday to mark the completion of a film about that global trip.
My plan was to fly here to celebrate the release of the documentary.
When trouble hit, a quarter mile from the runway.
And I heard a loud popping sound on both sides and then a big vibration. And I believe that that was probably icing.
The highly customized Commander 900 touched down at 115 miles an hour.
And it was bouncing, and not a lot, but just like you're on a rough road. And I thought, okay, this is the point where either the wings are going to get torn off, we're going to lose the engines, but what can you do? You're along for the ride.
A craft that carried him to the most remote frozen points of the planet is believed a total loss.
We're sad that we've lost her, but it's more of a celebration of life because, what that plane's accomplished, it's in the record books.
But Robert walked away unhurt, a plane that's brought him to the ends of the earth, gracefully ending their final flight.
And you're thankful to be alive. The fire department, one of the guys said, "Oh, rough landing." And then I said, "Well, any landing you walk away from is a good one." We're saying that she delivered me home, one last time.
We estimate about 107,000 customers in Spokane County would qualify for this program. And so, another 60% of those customers are still eligible, but haven't yet accessed the program.
Officials say income limits increased in October for all counties in Avista's Washington territory. That means 1 in 3 Avista customers qualify for savings that are anywhere from 15 to 94% in Washington.
For Spokane, where we might have a lot of beautiful old homes, they're also quite leaky or can be quite leaky, and so it does cost more to heat our homes.
Spokane Neighborhood Action Partners, or SNAP, collaborates with Avista to match qualified applicants.
Especially with seniors, we'll find seniors keeping it way down at 55 degrees because they can't afford their bill, right? So they're in there, they're wrapped up in blankets, they're in one room, heating one room. Right? This isn't how we want our seniors to live.
I talked to one customer who didn't want to be recorded but is part of this program, and she tells me because she has a single income, the discount alleviates some tough choices that other customers may have to make.
Am I going to pay my bill, my food bill today, or am I going to get medicine today, or am I going to keep it at 55 degrees? I mean, those are the choices that we find people making.
It was here near this intersection in Spokane where Lori Lynn Partridge was last seen 50 years ago and never heard from again.
It's like she just vanished off the face of the earth.
In 1974, 17-year-old Lori Lynn Partridge left Ferris High School early because she wasn't feeling well. She started to walk home to rest, but she never made it.
It's worse not knowing anything and never having any resolve to this.
Lori's younger sister, Taryn Chambers, shared on the phone what she remembers from that day.
Well, my bus was supposed to go over from the elementary school and go over to the high school to pick her up. And then she wasn't on the bus. Then I got home and she wasn't home.
A mystery her and the Partridge family have been living in for half a century.
It's been hell. Not knowing. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Your sister taken away from you, and now it's 50 years. I cannot even believe it's 50 years.
While it's been decades since Lori's disappearance, there is someone who remembers that day very clearly.
I was a brand new officer with the Spokane County Sheriff's Office.
Richard Downing, a retired Spokane County Sheriff's deputy, answered the initial 911 call from Mr. Partridge reporting Lori missing.
You could tell that he was on the verge of wanting to cry. I felt that at the time he was beside himself, like any parent would be. You know, that he didn't know what had happened to his daughter. This was unlike her not to be home.
Initial reports say days leading up to her disappearance, the person Lori was in a relationship with told deputies he saw a green station wagon following the two of them home from Lori's job at the Lincoln Heights Theater. Reports also say at the time she went missing, Lori had 2 tickets to see the Beach Boys on her person. She never made it to the concert, but investigators say those tickets were used.
It almost becomes like, how could that happen? How could a 17-year-old girl just vanish between home and her high school and never be seen again?
A question Detective Michael Drapeau has been trying to answer since the case was first assigned to him back in 2007.
So all cold cases have a certain degree of solvability factors. Unfortunately, missing persons who are yet to be located are the most difficult.
He says the sheriff's office has spent the last 50 years tracking down every possible lead, but they are still searching for answers. While this is a cold case, it doesn't mean the sheriff's office or the Partridge family has lost hope that one day they'll find Lori.
I wish somebody would please come forward and help our family find our sister so we can resolve this one way or another.
It's solvable. We just got to be able to do it. Just got to find a way to do it.
Detective Drapeau says that the sheriff's office is still working to find Lori. If you or someone you know has any information about Lori's whereabouts, you're asked to call Crime Check. In Spokane, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus for your KREM 2 News Weekend Review. It's been a busy week here in the Inland Northwest. Let's get you caught up on some of the news you might have missed.
SPD getting rid of the term is something that Chief Hall is adamant about removing. The reason stems from a previous incident back in 2019 when Hall says reviewers with SPD used the term per the department's policy when it shouldn't have been an option. Former Spokane police officer Christopher Henderson was fired in 2020 after using excessive force on a suspect resisting arrest and assaulting him. Police say Henderson kicked the suspect in the genitals while handcuffed.
During the review, as different levels of review occurred, the terminology exceptional technique was used to sort of justify the action, and that was problematic.
Spokane Police Chief Kevin Hall says the term used in that instance wasn't appropriate. After that incident, the department saw a steady decline from non-lethal use of force incidents from 117 in 2019 to 71 in 2020 and 66 in 2021. But during that time, the language was still tolerated by SPD reviewers. It isn't now.
We're excluding it. We're excluding it from the policy, and we're excluding it from the manual, the Defensive Tactics Manual.
A 2022 report from Spokane Police Ombudsman Bart Lowe critiqued exceptional techniques as problematic. 2 years later, that change is taken into SPD's reviewing of different circumstances.
So there's so much ambiguity in the term exceptional technique that it could be applied to almost anything that occurs.
With the term being removed, Hall says the next steps involve taking that term out of the department's lexicon.
Retraining the reviewers at all levels, from the first line supervisor all the way up through executive staff, on the inappropriateness of that particular terminology.
Chief Hall says he hopes the change will create better accountability for officers on duty after their actions get reviewed. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Officials from Whitworth University say that rural communities across the Inland Northwest are struggling to find and fill accredited school counselor positions.
Using the Department of Education's more than $3 million grant to help with scholarships and mileage reimbursement, officials say now Whitworth can bridge the gap for students who want the education to fill those counselor positions but live farther away from the college.
It's going to enable us to recruit students that wouldn't normally be able to come to campus to experience the school counseling program.
Paula Gorman is the school counselor at Kettle Falls High School. And 2 days a week, she drives to Whitworth to take night classes to finish her 3-year school counseling program.
It's really hard on all the other staff. You know, teachers are having to take on roles that, you know, they were not maybe trained in or understand the process.
Like Gorman, Whitwer says they want to make it easier for students from rural areas to get the required education they need.
Get students who are already in love with and committed to their communities, and they just lack the training.
This will allow districts to hire counselors who already know and love the town and people that they are working with.
I think it's so important to be able to hire people within and then to be able to come back and to be able to fit in and, you know, understand how small communities work.
Officials from Whitwer say they expect 12 students from rural communities to benefit from this grant this next fall, and they are looking to grow that number each year for the next 5 years. In Kettle Falls, Regan Gallo, KREM 2.
If you wanted to grab lunch at Domini's Thursday, you had to be in line by breakfast.
I'm really sorry, ma'am, but the line was starting back in the bay. Yes, way back in the hall.
The chance to grab one last bite.
We're getting low on sourdough and French.
Sent business out the door and around the corner. It's to be expected when a downtown staple and its longtime owner, Tom Domini, say goodbye.
I'll miss all you guys. Everyone.
Tom is retiring after more than 50 years and one last lunch rush.
We started at 8 o'clock this morning making them. We had about 150 to start with this morning. So we didn't let anybody in here until 10 o'clock this morning so we could get all caught up. And then look what happened.
It would drive anyone to tears. The dedication that drove some customers to go great lengths.
No, I flew in from Virginia Beach for the sandwich. That is why I am here. Yes, I mean, and family, but yeah, for the sandwich.
For the sandwich primarily.
Yeah.
It wasn't just customers who put in the miles.
It was always in the family.
Oldest brother Joe flew in from Phoenix to send off his brother and the family business.
We were partners for about 15 or 20 years. I worked here until 2013. Good luck, man. Thank you.
Luck landed Emily Buriak in the line.
It lucked out. I wanted to come earlier in the week but wasn't able to, and then my roommate hurt himself, and so we were able to sneak in today.
An emergency room trip turned happy accident.
The silver lining of a gray cloud.
With a heaping helping of irony behind that bandage.
Cleaning a knife in the sink. Yeah, just hand slip.
Yes,
yeah,
trying to make a sandwich.
Yeah, ironically enough. Yeah. Leave it to the professionals, I guess.
The sandwiches may be back in a different location run by a longtime employee. But this professional is taking his career to go.
Okay, last one.
Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Thank you. Now I got 3 to go.
It may not rank in terms of tower power among Spokane's other trademark attractions, but Loof Carousel stands above all others.
It's just
for Betty Largent.
Love at first sight, as they say. Better watch these little kids. They'll be back in 50 years.
A love that kept her coming back for decades for painstaking preservation of Riverfront Park's centerpiece. A restoration that's nearly reached
There we go.
its finale.
See, you can see the reeds and everything. So basically what we're doing is completing this conversion.
If this tune doesn't ring a bell, it's because it hasn't been heard in this hall for decades. The band organ, the carousel's beating heart, hasn't pumped out its tunes regularly since 1989.
None of my children have, and they have children and children. I mean, I have great-grandchildren, and they've never heard it. So they may hate it, but at least they've heard it.
Far from it for Largent and others, who labored in love to rebuild the organ's instruments in the 90s. The scrolls of hole-punched music, however, were wearing out. It will take modern technology to bring back the waltzes, marches, and polkas of old.
There isn't anything quite like it. Ours is the equivalent of a 60-piece band. And there's no speakers, woofers, tweeters, or anything to expand that sound.
The music itself has been scanned and digitized with just one piece missing. The Parks Foundation is now asking for your help to put the final piece of this restoration puzzle into place.
We're hoping that we can raise it within the community. Then they have ownership.
They need to drum up $15,000 for the final equipment to read the music, hoping to debut for the 50th anniversary of the carousel's placement in the park to keep the beat marching on.
That's why we play music, for a carousel.
For years to come.
I mean, it's just going up and down otherwise. It puts the magic back in.
Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
The Cougs welcomed 23 new signees to their roster. And while head coach Jake Dickert had a lot of positive things to say about each of their individual style of play, what's most important is that they fit with where the program is going.
First one is family over flash. They got to embrace who we are. They got to understand why they're here, and they have to love it. The second one is production, right, over projection. Right? We love guys that love to produce. Right? Because a lot of times you can project these guys all you want and you're trying to see something that's not there. We love guys that love to produce. And the last one is being dynamic over just taking dimensions. Right? There are some things that we do dimensionally, but we don't like fit anyone in a box. Right? We want guys that are super dynamic at every position, even offensive line, because we feel like, you know, that athletic production is going to take us to where we want to go.
As far as recruiting by position, Coach Dickert and his staff put an emphasis on defensive backs and offensive line.
Defensive backs is a must. In today's college football landscape, you got to be run and cover with speed.
9 of those 23 guys are expected to enroll in January and be ready for spring practice. Reporting from Pullman, Caitlin Galloway, KREM 2 Sports.
I mean, yeah, come on, let's get into this. The Winter Glow Spectacular here in Liberty Lake. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous. You see these trees back here, they're singing. You can actually turn on your car radio and listen to it. I think this is what this car over here is doing. She actually told us she saw me on TV, so I said, hopefully I wasn't looking too silly over here. But then you've got these animals over here as well. Man, this is just awesome. I love it. And you can see so many beautiful things over here. We got a chance to speak with some of the volunteers, the organizers, and they told us they've been doing this for about 6 years at this particular point. And then, hey, I don't know if you can zoom in as far as possible, but take a look at these elephants over here. She actually told me that those were from 2015, the windstorm damaged it in Riverfront Park. They were able to bring it back to life. She's a quilter, the organizer I was speaking with earlier, bringing it all back. But what's cool about this too is that this is completely free. It's open to the public, so if you live over in North Idaho, you can come and look at it for free. If you live here in Liberty Lake, Spokane, wherever you're located, it is available to the public. So it's just a cool opportunity to get into that Christmas spirit, and really it's just super festive, and it makes you want to sing. It makes you want to, you know, go out and carol or whatever it may be to get you into that Christmas spirit. But I love this. There's something else I wanted to say about it, but it's not coming to my mind right now outside of the fact that what I mentioned, it's free, it's open to the public, and also 24 hours they keep these lights on. So come out and check it out for yourself. It'll be here until January 1st, so plenty of opportunities to come out and get into that Christmas spirit. But for now, reporting here in Liberty Lake, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News Weekend Review. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast and weather forecast right here on KREM 2+. Just look for the video in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.